All right. Good morning, everyone. I will call the meeting to order. My name is Angie Lyle, the president of the Waldo Tower Neighborhood Association. Thank you all for joining. If you're new, we do meet here every other month. So our next meeting will be in September. And I see a lot of returning faces, so happy to see y'all. Hope you're staying cool. And Frank, thank you for recording this video. So before we get started, I wanted to let you guys know we're going to do a giveaway. We're actually going to give this book away, The Waldo Story by Lady Morton. It's a great historical book. If you haven't filled out your name on the little card back there by the sign-in sheet to enter, write your name on the little card and give it to Elizabeth, and she'll enter it into the drawing. And at the end of the meeting, we'll draw your name, hopefully. All right, so to get us started, I'm going to introduce Hayden, what was your last name? Andrews from City Compost. Oh my God, I can't talk. And he's going to talk a little bit about this program, and then we're going to have some announcements from John. Sharpe is in the room. Oh, why was I looking back there? You were like right here in front of me. And then Tiffany's got some really great information. So a lot of like public discussions we'll have about different properties and stuff around Waldo. So it looks like the treats have arrived. So don't, be bashful. You can get up and go get some treats while we're talking. I won't be. And Hayden, you are free to go. Do you have your own little microphone?
Yep, I got it.
Yeah, I don't want to leave my coffee over here. Or this book. Hide stuff over here like a little
testing.
Oh,
hello.
There you go.
I might just project. Can you all hear me in the back if I just use my normal speaking voice?
Oh, the microphone's for the.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you. I was really handling it, so sorry for the beginning audio. Okay. All right. Well, thank you all for having me. My name is Hayden Andrews. I am the commercial accounts manager for KC Can Compost. We're a local company here in Kansas City, and we are an organic waste recycler, which basically means we take anything that was once alive and we turn it into healthy soil. So we have a drop-off in Waldo, but we also have a commercial program, which is the one that I manage. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about both and kind of what we're about. So we were founded in 2019, just a few kind of basic things. Founded in 2019, launched just before the pandemic, and found a surprising amount of success even through the pandemic, which was great. We have, obviously, like I said, commercial, residential, and then we are kind of piloting municipal services. We've been working with Kansas City in a kiosk program, and then that just expanded to Prairie Village just launched the beginning of July. And so there's a few programs like that, which we've seen a tremendous amount of success about. And so if you all want to chat more about the residential program, I would love to. And then over 6,300,000 pounds recycled to date, which we just passed the 6 million mark. And so I'm bragging about it all over town. But we also have kind of the nonprofit part of our company comes from a program called Green Core Training, which is a career readiness program for people facing barriers to employment. It is a typically 5 weeks, 100-hour course, and students learn everything from just kind of like work in the green economy. They build a green city block as their kind of final project, and it's a huge part of what we do. It's a huge part of where our revenue goes, and a lot of people don't know about that when they think about KC Can, so I always like to kind of spread that gospel that this is a huge part of what we do. If you all have questions about this, I would be glad to answer. I don't typically spend a lot of time on it, but I'm gonna keep moving, but I'd be glad to talk about it later. Okay, does anyone compost at home? Okay, I knew that this was gonna be, there were like 3 hands in Overland Park. Oh no! So if you compost at home, you have experienced the kind of miracle of healthy soil, compost amended soil. But a lot of people don't know the kind of connection there and why that is. So when we send food waste to the landfill, it doesn't have an opportunity to biodegrade. It's not exposed to oxygen, which is a really key part of that process. No one's there to turn it. And so it's just covered in all the other trash that goes to the landfill, and it just kind of steeps, which creates, I'll talk about this more on the next slide, but methane the gas that is emitted. It's a natural part of the compost process, but when food waste is sent to the landfill, it emits loads more. So we in the United States, all of these facts are based in the United States unless stated otherwise. I'll let your eyes kind of wander here, but obviously it's really expensive. It kind of is the cultural implication that we can think of food as trash, and that's just like not the case. But one I do like to call out is the green one right there in the middle. It is enough food waste to fill a stadium every single day. I believe that's in the United States. I'll have to check. So yeah, it's just a tremendous amount of waste, and it doesn't have to be that way. Okay, so when food waste is sent to the landfill, like I said, creates methane. We have all kind of heard about carbon dioxide as part of the planet warming gas, but methane stays in the atmosphere a lot longer. It's a lot more toxic when it's there. And again, I just like to emphasize that we have this sort of cultural implication that when we throw it away, it's away, and that's just not true. So I'm here to bust that myth. Okay, so obviously the composting is not the only solution. I am not pretending that it is, but this is part of why I asked if people composted at home, because you have experienced the way that healthy soil smells. I mean, it's really not. I think people think it's going to be kind of yucky, and it can be if you do it wrong. But when you add compost amended soil into like your garden beds, for example, your soil is so much more healthy. The plants grown in that soil can pull more carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. Your food is truly more nutritious. Food grown in healthier soil is literally better for you. And then obviously massive reduction in greenhouse gases because you're not sending that food waste to the landfill. A little bit about just what can be composted. This is part of why I ask if people compost at home, because we accept everything that you can't typically compost at home. Food waste, meat, bones, dairy. I like to say if it was once alive, we can take it. So that includes any paper products as well. We can take paper towels. You can compost paper towels at home. But so yeah, so I'm not going to spend very much time on this. We can also take anything moldy. But if you have any questions, I'd be glad to spend some time at the end chatting about this. I'm actually going to do our residential program first. Oh, well, I'll do our commercial. So this is the program that I manage, and we have grown exponentially in the last couple of years, especially the last like 18 months or so. I think especially as people realize that we really need to be doing things like this in our workplace. It's a huge, a lot of companies have like environmental goals and stuff to meet, and this is a easy way to meet some of those. I typically go into a workspace, and we work with everyone from like Costco's to little cafes to we work with the one of the Amazon warehouses. So it's a really wide range of businesses that we interact with. And I go to the service area, the customer, and we kind of follow the path of their trash, and we'll just look at where people are throwing stuff away, and we'll either put a compostable liner in one of those receptacles. It like can be as easy as putting a compostable liner in the restrooms, and you just throw your hands away. You just throw your paper towel into the. We would take hands. And then we'll outfit them. I'll write a proposal up for them, and we'll outfit them with everything that they need to get started. So I don't know where you all work, but if you already use our service, I hope that you're enjoying it. And if you want to chat about bringing a compost program to your job, I would be glad to do that. I'll skip that third step, which is kind of implied. Tracking your impact. We do our best to weigh the waste, and so our commercial customers get access to a portal, and they can check it whenever they'd like, and they'll get their weight diverted to date, and then that comes along with I believe it's trees equivalent to trees planted and cars kept off the road, and then CO2 prevented and methane prevented from entering the atmosphere. So it's kind of a way for those companies that want to know how they're doing to be able to track that information. Okay. I had this in there from Overland Park, but I kind of expected that maybe a lot of you would compost at home, and I don't necessarily want to step on those toes because I also compost at home. But just quick how our residential program works. We have drop-offs all over the city, and then we have like city-sponsored ones in a couple of cities around Kansas City. But I'll just focus on the program that we run. It is kind of as simple as these photos. You collect your compost at home just like you're doing now. And then we have the drop-offs. I think the closest one here is Yoga Patch, but we try and just Yoga Patch. Yeah. And I have a list with me of all of the drop-offs, but I actually don't. I use drop-offs instead of when I use our program. I'll use ones where I'm already going. You know what I mean? If I'm grabbing coffee or something, sometimes it's easier than just picking one on my route. But yeah, 18 cans all around the city. I believe the closest one here is Yoga Patch, but I have the list with me, so we can check that. And then anything that you can't compost at home, meat, bones, dairy, anything that you might not want to throw in your home, compost cooked stuff. I try not to put cooked stuff in mine. We can accept. So yeah, just here to let you know that's an option. Any questions?
So I can take anything in my kitchen that's no longer usable,
Yep, including rotten stuff.
including rotten stuff.
Yep, so if you have leftovers that go bad or something, we can take anything like that.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
That
It is awesome.
absolutely-
Yeah, totally. Yeah, we have a couple of apartment buildings who are like crazy about this program. It's always a maintenance guy who's like, I'm so glad that this is, because they're not fixing so many drains. I like never would have thought of that. And he was like, I'm so glad that your company exists. Did you have a question?
Yeah, hold on.
How does the program work to like drop off? Is there a charge for that?
Yeah, it's kind of confusing because the city sponsored programs are free to residents. That's like kind of the whole point, is the city covers that. Our particular program is $12.99 a month for all you can tip. So you get unlimited drop-offs. But the Yoga Patch one, for example, is $12.99 a month. But they're not included on my flyer. But if you go to the website, the Kansas City, Missouri website, there's a list of, I believe it's like as simple as Kansas City /compost. It should be easy to find on their website. And there's a list there of their sponsored cans. Yep. Please.
So you're composting.
I mean, scary like that.
So you're composting. What do you do with the product that you create?
Yes, we are expanding as we speak. So right now we bring it to a licensed facility and they process it. So we are the hauler, if you will. But we are expanding kind of rapidly, like I said, which is great, but there's a lot of red tape in expanding. And so I'm expecting us to be processing that entire waste stream, like end of the year time, maybe Q1 of next year. And a huge part of that goal and that kind of larger vision is that we'll be able to hire some of the graduates from our nonprofit program, and they will kind of continue their program and work at KC At-Large.
So if I want to buy compost,
Yeah, part of that vision is a give back program. I am anxiously awaiting that, but right now it's available for sale. I'm hoping that we can give it to our residents at a discounted rate, like our local participants, but
you don't do that
no,
now.
you have to purchase it. That's a good question. I think that you have to go to the site. That's the only place I've ever bought it. I don't believe it's available for sale at like retail stores. But yeah, I'd be glad to
Does it
share
go
more
to
about that.
Missouri Organics?
Yes, it does.
Okay, so Missouri Organics is they do have like the bags of it, but I've seen that for sale at Sutherland sometimes.
Oh, okay, great.
So it just depends on if they have it in stock, but that's where I've seen it. And it's good organic dirt. It's
That's the one near Longview on Way Longview.
Please.
2 questions about the commercial program. What is the cost to a business, and does KC Can Compost manage the pickup of the compost weekly, bi-weekly?
Yes, that depends radically on what kind of business it is. Our price for like just one can for like a small cafe, if that's one, I don't think there's a picture of it, but they're the 64-gallon carts. They're the same size as your like recycling or trash bins. That is $105 a month for just weekly pickup. That's like kind of the most basic pricing.
Okay.
If you need less pickup than that, that's something we can chat about. If you need more, bulk pricing kicks in. I don't know what kind of business it is, or if you want to chat about that after this.
Sure,
but,
we'll talk about it afterwards.
Yeah.
Let me come over there.
Sorry, getting his steps in.
Sorry, don't scare you.
So would you consider like the new Jackson County Detention Center a good client?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Mhm.
I will contact them.
Thank you.
because-
Absolutely. Yeah. We work with the transition center, but I would love that. Anyone else? I know I talk fast. Sorry about that. I'm working on it.
So
I'm a little confused on the residential.
Oh, yes.
We contact Kansas City, the city, in order to get it set up. And then do they send out bags, or how do we get the
city
buckets?
program is you're on your own. You have to you can purchase stuff through us, which I can send you to that link, but you're welcome to use like a brown bag, or you can get your bags online. But the kind of the catch of the city program is that you are finding your supplies yourself. But brown bags are totally fine, and you can get compostable liners. I think probably I don't want to say Amazon, but it's as simple as Googling it. Yeah. And then those drop-offs, again, are on the Kansas City website.
But are you curious about their residential program?
Yeah, because like
Oh, I'm sorry. I misunderstood that question. Thank you.
But so I was confused. I see like your KC can compost orange bucket.
Yeah. So through our program, we work with cafes and coffee shops if you want to pick them up in person, but we also have a drop ship option where you can get your supplies mailed to you. And then those, you can continue to get liners through us that way.
Okay.
Yeah. Which I feel like is worth $12.99 personally.
Okay, so I think the confusion is, does your residential program come and pick it up, or?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. No, it's a drop off. No, we're a drop off model no matter what. Yeah. We do not do curbside just because it's not, I wish we did curbside. It's not, in my opinion, efficient, maybe. If we lived in like Boston or New York or somewhere that's a lot more densely populated where there's so many people participating, it's totally worth it to drive a big truck around. But it's, if just a couple people here, a couple people there, before you know it, you're driving a big truck through Waldo, it just ends up being not cost.
Yeah, there's already a big compost truck that drives through, I think.
And not to mention that option.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
or that factor rather.
So the cost would be $12.99 a month.
Yep.
And you would drop it off at your location.
Yep. You have to drop it off.
And the bags that we put it in, would that be included in that $12.99, or is that an extra?
No, I believe it's an additional cost, but it's not very much. I don't remember how much it is, but it's not very much.
Awesome. Thank you
Thank you.
so much.
I appreciate you all having me.
That was great. Yeah, and so you have some stuff to hand out? Maybe
I would
Okay.
love
Great.
to just pass out. I don't want to just throw that on the ground in case somebody trips. Let me just make this handsome.
Perfect. All right.
Is
John.
anybody else presenting? Should I put this away?
I don't think we need a computer. Yeah, no. We're good. Thank you so much. Can I grab your microphone too?
Oh, yes. Thank you. I totally would have forgotten. I appreciate it. Cool.
I'm going to put it on yours so
Okay.
it goes to the. There you go.
All right. Thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Bob and you here.
You bet. All right, and if you haven't filled out the card to enter, you guys, we're giving away the Waldo History book by Ladine Morton. If you want to enter that drawing, you'll need to put your name on the little slip of paper back there on the table and give it to one of the ladies behind the table there so that we can do the drawing at the end of the meeting. Cool. All right, John Sharpe, take it away.
Well, thank you, Angie. And thank you so much for letting me be here today. I'm John Sharpe, a former city council person, and a long time ago, a former state legislator. And I'm head of the South Kansas City Alliance, which is an umbrella neighborhood group out here in South Kansas City. And I write a column for the Martin City Telegraph. And the Telegraph comes out every 2 weeks. And we print 15,000 copies every edition. So we're not teeny tiny. And for election issues, we print 30,000 and throw the extra 15,000 in yards. But we try to cover everything in South Kansas City. And I think we do a pretty good job. But we aren't going anywhere. Our publisher, a lot of papers are kind of shaky, like the Star, but we're doing very well. And our publisher is committed to continuing to print it. So we come out every second Thursday, and it's free. You can subscribe, though, and you can pick it up at most Price Choppers. So we try to cover news in South Kansas City. And Today, I've got some really good news that it's such a pleasure to talk about, because as we all know, we've had a tremendous problem with celebratory gunfire in Kansas City for years. And celebratory gunfire is not only dangerous, it's sometimes deadly. And it has been a huge problem in this city. And it's not normal. A lot of people think that happens in every big city, but it doesn't. Because my son went to college down at Atlanta, then he taught for a while in the Dallas area, and they're probably more gunned up in those cities, particularly Dallas, than they are up here. But you don't hear much of it down there because people know they're going to arrest you. And that's what we've had missing here. But my son, Mark Sharpe, he's a state representative in his district. All the districts are kind of gerrymandered. His is linear, and it runs basically in South Kansas City up to the Grandview limit, and it runs from State Line clear over to Raytown Road. But he and I both live in the Hickman Mills area, and it took him several years to pass a bill called Blair's Law, which I hope many of you have heard about. It's named after little 11-year-old Blair Shanahan Lane, and she was killed while playing in the yard on July 4th back in 2011 by these guys that were shooting guns. They thought just over a lake, and they thought the bullets would just drop down the lake. The bullets went a lot further than they expected, and one hit her, and she died as a result. And her mother, Michelle Shanahan DeMoss, made it her mission to try to prevent deaths like that as much as she could. So she sought state legislation to crack down on it. But back then, it was just a city ordinance violation, and not a criminal record. And it wasn't being enforced. And people knew it wasn't being enforced. And it took Mark 5 years to get this passed. But he wouldn't give up, because he promised Blair's mom that he'd keep at it until it got enacted. And he actually had to pass it twice, because the first time they passed it, it was part of an omnibus bill that it was a 150-something page long bill. And Governor Parson didn't like some other stuff in it, and he vetoed it, not because he was against Blair's Law, but against some of the other stuff. So Mark had to pass it twice, but in '24 it was passed, was signed into law, and it makes reckless gunfire and celebratory gunfire within any city in Missouri, within city limits or into city limits, a serious state offense. And the first offense is a misdemeanor, but if you get caught doing it again, it's a felony. But even on a first offense, it's punishable by up to a year in jail and a fine of up to $2,000. And we are getting that word out, and the police are enforcing it, and it is really making a difference, because on July 4th, the good news is we had no deaths, no injuries, no serious property damage like windows shot out in Kansas City, Missouri. So that is just tremendous progress, because we have had so much of that in the past. And the police are enforcing it. And they do have a shot spotter system that covers most of Kansas City, most of the central part of the city, where it can identify the precise location gunfire comes from, and even how many shots are fired. And we did have 31 shot spotter activations on July 4th in the city, but that's way low from what we've had before, and there were 200 rounds fired. But again, that's way low, because in past years, on some of these guys were emptying, I say guys, most of the people doing it are males, and most of them are younger males, not people my age, but they were emptying extended clips, where you'd fire 20 or 30 shots. But there were only 200 shots fired from those 31 incidents. But nobody killed, nobody injured, no major property damage. Now, there were 3 people charged with Blair's Law violations over the 4th of July weekend from independents that were charged by Melissa Johnson, our Jackson County prosecuting attorney. And she is taking this seriously and has made it real clear that whenever cases are brought to her, she is going to charge them. So the word is getting out, number one, how dangerous it is, because a lot of these nuts that are doing this, they don't realize that the bullets come down with deadly force. I think they think it's just like an acorn hitting you on the head. And I remember one case where this fella had some of his buddies over and they were shooting outside. He was inside and they talked him into coming out and joining the fun. And he wasn't even shooting, but he went out there with them, killed him instantly. And they just had no idea that the bullets come down with deadly force. And also, people were used to getting away with it, but that's not happening anymore. So I think we're making real progress, and I'm just so pleased to hear that no one was killed, no one was injured, and there was no serious property damage. So it really paid to get Blair's Law passed. And public safety is really a major issue for both my son and I, because as some of you know, most of you probably don't, my late stepdaughter, his late sister, was a homicide victim 25 years ago, her senior year at MU. And this was a domestic violence situation. And a lot of people think if you're a homicide victim, you must have been involved in some mess. Well, that wasn't the case with her. She met this scumbag that killed her at a poetry reading, and he gave her a phony identity, and they became involved. And then she found out that the phony identity was a phony identity, and he was actually a fugitive felon from Spartanburg, South Carolina. And he had robbed a Burger King, pistol whipped the manager for a couple of $100, had been convicted and was out on bond and fled up here. And that's where he met her at the poetry reading, where he clearly was going just to prey on young, naive girls. And when she found out about it, she was trying to talk him into turning himself in, and he was beating her. And the neighbors called police, and Columbia PD responded. But she made a fatal mistake not telling them what had happened, because he threatened, if she said anything to police, that he'd kill her and kill her family. And so she didn't say anything, and Spartanburg was too incompetent or too uncaring to turn him into the national database as a dangerous fugitive felon. So when Columbia PD ran him, he came up like Snow White. So they left, and later that day, he smothered her, and she died. He stole her car and came up here, and we were looking for him real seriously. But he went down to Spartanburg and turned himself in. He did do serious time for the Burger King robbery, but never was prosecuted for my daughter's murder. So that really hurts Mark and I even more. So we have always tried to be a voice for victims, and we've tried to do everything we can so there are less victims. But Blair's Law sure did work on July 4th, and Melissa Johnson, the new prosecutor, is serious about enforcing it. When cases come to her, she does file state charges. And in fact, over the July 4th weekend, she charged 3 fellows from Independence who were engaged in celebratory gunfire with that state offense. So I think we're making progress there. Yes, sir. We are out of time.
This is just a comment with the Blair's Law.
Yes, ma'am.
Last meeting, if anybody remembers, I said that we had a bar behind us at every New Year's, 4th of July, Chiefs game, they shot off guns. They never hurt anybody or anything as far as I know. This 4th of July, we did not have a peep.
Yay.
Not a peep.
Yay. That's awesome.
So it's obviously working. I mean, they do believe that they will get their thrown in jail.
Yep. Yeah, we have to do two things. We have to let them know how dangerous it is, and we have to let them know that they're likely to face serious criminal charges, not just the Mickey Mouse City Ordinance violation.
Is there any way to extend this to these M80s and these horrible things that they sound like bombs going off after the games and you know, it sounds like dynamite going off in our neighborhoods.
Well, that is a violation of city ordinance, but
And the police don't respond.
no, there's so much of it. It's awfully tough for them to.
Did a really good job of letting people know about Blair's Law.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ads with our new prosecutor saying she was going to take people down for it, and it was like maybe it gave people, something to think about.
Melissa Johnson wrote an op-ed that was in many papers, including on the front page of many papers, and made it real clear she's not playing. And she is also really seriously going after domestic violence cases, because last year, 1 out of every 12 murders in Kansas City was related to domestic violence. So far this year, it's 1 out of every 3. So we have got a serious problem with domestic violence, and she is taking it seriously. And she is not playing with these guys. And the relations now between the prosecutor's office and the police have really improved, because she has assigned an assistant prosecutor to every patrol division. So they really are working together on all crimes, not only violent crimes, but on property crimes too. So I am real pleased with her work. And by the way, if you'd like to hear a little more about what was passed and what wasn't passed in the recent sessions of the Missouri General Assembly, we're having a legislative town hall this Monday, and we meet at the South Patrol Police Station there at 9701 Marion Park Drive. We meet in the front building at 6 o'clock, and that's the South Kansas City Alliance. And we're having 6 of our area legislators, 2 state senators and 4 state representatives there to speak about the successes and failures of the regular and special sessions of the General Assembly, about the status of Missouri's efforts to try to keep the chiefs and royals in Missouri, and about legislation that the governor vetoed that'll probably be coming up for a potential override of his veto in September, and then major issues will be coming up in the 2026 session. So we'd love to have any of you come out, and it's Monday night at 6 o'clock at South Patrol in the front building. Yes, sir.
On that shot tracking system that the police have,
Yes, sir.
do they follow up on those, or just does it go into a database where they say, oh, shots were fired here?
They have not been following up on it, except when it happens. If they have the people on duty to do it, they do try to go out and make arrests.
I ask because I just live right down the street here.
Yes, sir.
It's not unusual for me to be sitting in my living room and hear somebody empty a clip.
Yep.
But I never hear police sirens afterwards. It's really rare.
We don't have any shot spotters in the Waldo area.
None.
Yeah,
Where are they
it only
located?
covers basically the central city. We're trying to get it to cover the whole city.
Okay.
But police are doing better on trying to make arrests for this crazy shooting, and the prosecutor has committed to, whenever a case is brought to her, as long as the evidence supports it, she will file state charges.
Yeah, well, the number of rounds I hear fired on a monthly basis, I got to figure a lot of those are hitting the sides of buildings or whatever.
Yeah.
It has to be.
They got to go somewhere,
Yeah.
right?
Well, yeah, they do come down. They come down with deadly force, but we're trying to educate more people that they are deadly, and we're certainly trying to educate them that they face serious criminal consequences if they're caught doing it. It's no longer just a Mickey Mouse City Ordinance violation. So
And
we're making progress.
I would encourage you to definitely report any gunfire that you hear, even if you call 911, you get a busy signal, they'll call back. if you can actually make a connection to the recording.
I can't exactly tell them where.
Right, but
you still need to
if
call.
you tell them you heard it and other people are also calling, then that's how they triangulate where it's occurring. And if there's
Yeah,
a lot of
911.
911 calls about gunfire, a lot in the neighborhood, that might facilitate a shot spotter in our neighborhood.
Just say it's from Waldo Towers.
Yeah, just say it's in the Waldo neighborhood.
Well,
and-
if you don't report it, it didn't happen. So
Oh,
you
you're
have
in
to
front of
make
the
the
tower?
A lot of
reports.
it might be at the bar. but
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah. Okay, John.
Yeah, at this meeting that you just mentioned that's coming up on the legislature, has there been any talk about a citizen's petition to reduce the number of legislatures in Jeff City? It seems like there's just too many of them that are rural and country, and they're overriding what the cities are doing.
Well, it's not the number
people
that's
vote for things, and we another example this week. With the minimum wage and also the sick leave, we had the pet thing. I mean, the rural interests are kind of telling KC and St. Louis, go shove it. And it's because there's an overabundance.
Go ahead.
Let me give you a microphone because you have to be on.
I've been attending as many of the legislative recaps as I can throughout the entire city. Went to a couple in the Northland. That's what they're hosting. Yes, thank you. That's what South Kansas City Alliance is hosting on Monday evening, and that would give you an opportunity to ask that specific question to the legislators, both senators and House reps, that could maybe provide some context for that. They have been answering a lot of questions about what's happening and how to better align the actions that are being taken and what people who live in the state of Missouri would like to see happen. Agreed. And those senators and reps that are at these legislative recap sessions are the ones to ask of that question.
Well, and it's not the number that's causing that, because each legislative district has to have an equal number of population. But quite frankly, we're just electing some people that don't have a lot of respect, in my opinion, for voters' viewpoints. And it's very unfortunate to see people pass something through an initiative petition process and then they override it. But it's not because of the sheer number, it's just who's being elected. And I do think there's many people are trying to get legislation through. It'd have to be a constitutional amendment to make it much more difficult for the legislature to override something that the people have passed through the initiative petition process.
Sure. I know that there's a couple more questions, and I don't know if John has time to stick around, but we have a couple more things city and neighborhood oriented that we want to make sure we get to. So I know, thank you so much, and I know Angie would like to say something.
That's exactly what I was going to say. John, are you complete? Have you?
Yes, ma'am. And please, if you can, come by our legislative forum Monday night. It'll be at South Patrol in the front building at 6 p.m. And we have 4 of our area state legislators, state representatives, and 2 state senators. So that will be a good time to hear from them and let them know what you think.
Is there a Zoom link?
No.
No. Okay, thank you so much for letting me appear.
Thank you, John. Thank you so much. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and give this one to Tiffany then. Well, wait a minute. Maybe you take this one and I'll take this one. Sorry. Dysfunction.
I have a couple of topics. Am I in the right spot? Okay. I have a couple of topics that I wanted to share updates. These are not things that I can say. We know exactly how this is going to end, but I want to be sure that you all are aware of a few things that are happening at the city level that have direct impact on neighborhood and quality of life. I represent the 6th District on the Neighborhood Advisory Council, and I have for a very long time. This is actually my last term. I am moving on to some other things. We did get great candidates, a lot of great candidates from the 6th District, so I think you'll see a new passionate person take over that spot. But one of the things the Neighborhood Advisory Council has been involved with for probably 20 years or more is the signage ordinances within the city. We have signs. We have a lot of signs. We've always had a lot of signs. Prior to my moving here in the 90s, the billboards that were up and down the trolley trail, I've been told, were incredibly blighting. And some of the work that was done by my predecessors on the Neighborhood Advisory Council had a lot to do with those signs being removed, and signs that get removed all the time. I like to describe us as the keeper of the Cheerios box in that regard. Right now, there are 3 different amendments that are being proposed or have been proposed by the city for different purposes. One that has already passed, changed some of the requirements or the coordination between the city and the state of Missouri when MoDOT is condemning billboards along their roadways. The one sign condemnation that triggered this amendment is associated with the changes that the MoDOT is making along I-70 in the area where they call the Benton Curve. If you're familiar with that kind of snaky section, MoDOT in the next few years is going to be making changes there to make that curve less curvy. Is that a great way to describe it? To increase safety, because that is a very challenging stretch of the highway to navigate. There was one sign that was being condemned, and now the city ordinance reflects more coordination with MoDOT. Going to be watching how that actually is implemented and whether or not they created some gaps that we may want to revisit, but that one has moved on. The second one that was proposed has to do with digital menu boards in drive-thrus. You probably didn't even notice it, but many of the fast food restaurants have gone from the boards where you have to open the plastic window and change the pictures, or maybe they turn them around for breakfast versus lunch kind of thing. You probably didn't even notice, but a lot of those shifted over to digital screens that look a lot like your TV, only it's turned vertically. Those are not legal in Kansas City, Missouri. But from a corporate packaging perspective, all of the change just automatically make those updates. Not intentionally, not with malice, but having no idea that that was considered to be an illuminated sign that's not currently allowed by ordinance. So the planning department had an amendment that went to City Plan Commission about a week ago to allow illuminated menu boards, but the way it was originally introduced was to allow illuminated monument signs, because menu boards are considered a monument sign. Monument signs, if you're not familiar with that term, are all of those signs that touch the ground. So every shopping center has one, every church has one, every school has one, every apartment complex has one, and so you can spin your mental Rolodex and think about how many of those. What we were successful in doing in the City Plan Commission hearing was shifting the description of digital menu boards into a section of its own. That does not allow the same kind of illumination on all of those other types of menu or monument signs. So there really isn't a huge impact from my perspective in having digital menu boards in drive-thrus. Those were already illuminated signs. They're already required to screen any illumination when those stores abut residential property. And so this really didn't have a significant impact. I have seen enough that as the signs are kind of deteriorating, that I think actually adds a blighting appearance to restaurants that won't happen as much with the digital signs. But making sure that that change didn't allow illumination broadly is a really big deal. That one will go to neighborhood planning and development, I think on the 22nd, and then on to council probably that same week. I am going to ask Angie to communicate that, because it would be really helpful for community members and neighborhood organizations to express support for that. I always like to ask neighborhoods and residents to speak up when they support something like this as much as we do when we oppose it. It helps us when we come back and ask for something different. Similar changes are going to be proposed for monument signs within residential zoning, and that means the neighborhood school and the churches that are actually within neighborhoods, not just the ones that front on arterials like Warnell Road. More to come on that. That's likely the one that we'll want to push back on the hardest, because right now those are not allowed to have any illumination at all. Pole-mounted signs have a very, very limited life in Kansas City, Missouri. They are very limited in where they can be. They are only allowed in some of the heaviest commercial corridors. Where they are a legacy sign, just like with billboards, if they don't have a message for more than, I believe it's 30 days, if they are in disrepair in any way, then they have to be taken down. If you see one that you question, if you see one that's not being used, it's blank. I'll give you an example here. That was the Burger King sign, which is gone. Put that into 311 because it will immediately trigger an investigation. Once that 30-day window goes by, then the owner has to take the sign down. And there is very little recourse for the sign owner to go back and argue that request.
You would then address new Quick Trip sign. Will they be grandfathered in? How do you keep their full?
Well, the answer there is that is manufacturing zoning, M zoning, which is an industrial zoning. That's one of the vulnerabilities of that old railway corridor. And so they likely will be able to have a pole sign. Now, if their sign has no message on it or is in disrepair, then it would also be subject to the signage requirements. But since they do maintain it and they do have gas prices there all the time, it's legal in its current state.
My last question.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
Should one endeavor to get to a particular sign? What's the best?
Start with a 311 because then you're going to get a response from the city that says, okay, you've identified something that seems to be out of compliance, or they might close the case and you can always follow up and ask why. If you start something and you don't get a lot of information, email the neighborhood and we can try to follow up and find out what's going on. But 311 is the place to go. Yes.
It took 311 almost a year to fix the sinkhole that was in back of my neighbor's.
I wish I could say that's not the case in many ways. What I will say, particularly as it relates to things like signage and ordinances that have specific timeframes in it, the date and time that you submit the 311 starts the clock. So even if from a capacity standpoint, they struggle to get to it, you have established a date and time where the problem existed and their clock would begin to tick at that point.
Which category would that zoning and
So the signage stuff is in Chapter 88, Section 445. Oh, probably zoning. I'd have to look. Yeah. Yes.
Would you repeat the information about there's a meeting that you want neighborhood input? You talk about
the city meeting? I think supporting the sign.
Correct. The sign ordinance. So the digital menu board's text amendment is likely to be heard at Neighborhood Planning and Development Committee, which I think will be on the 22nd. We don't have dockets for those meetings yet. And so we may be able to share it on the Facebook page or maybe an email from the neighborhood, but we will communicate that out.
From the city clerk, we'll put it in an email out to
Yes. Yes. Thank you. Yeah. Yep. All right. The second topic that I wanted to share is something that has come up in these meetings before from residents, and that is what improvements we might want to see as a community at Tower Park. We had a neighborhood cleanup there around the 4th of July, and we had a lot of conversations about the trash cans that were burned down and just some of the amenities. And from that conversation, I had offered to put together a draft PIAC request for a master plan, which is typically how the Parks Department starts to take a look at maintenance and improvement needs at their parks properties. We had the opportunity to talk with the superintendent from Parks on the July 5th because he was out checking out some of the things that needed to be repaired. And he did acknowledge that the playground equipment at both Tower Park and South Oak Park are beyond their useful life. and that manufacturer has discontinued that particular model, and so they cannot repair it. When things break, they have to remove them. So I think they recently removed a slide because it was broken and they couldn't repair it. And so we have a couple of baseball diamonds that aren't as active as they've been in the past, and a lot of green space that's primarily just being mowed. And so one of the things that we could initiate as a neighborhood in conjunction with community members like yourself is a PIAC request for a master plan study. And that would trigger community meetings where you could say, this is what I would use more if it existed in Tower Park. These are the activities that I would like to see, or these are the activities that I would like to not see anymore, like blowing up trash cans maybe for the 4th of July. And so I drafted it, I sent it out to the board, and I just asked Angie for a few minutes to share that if you would like to support that, if you think it's a good idea for the neighborhood organization to submit that PIAC grant. Obviously, there's no assurance that it would be approved, but in my experience, and this goes back to John's days as the 6th district rep, they do like to fund studies because they're affordable. They're a good way to make sure that whatever future investment is made has community input and will fit the needs of the users in the park spaces. So, any thoughts? Good idea? Be interested?
We want to include South Oak Park too.
Yes.
We're just trying to figure out where we have the capacity to be like almost religious in our efforts, because you have to do it year after year after year.
Yes.
We're always seeking a volunteer who can kind of stay on top of the dates for us and make sure we don't miss our deadlines when we need to go back again.
Yep. Tower Park and South Oak Park are close enough together that having good coordination between the amenities and programming that takes place in both of them, I think would allow the community to see more opportunities and less duplication. I think many of us would be just fine walking or driving to South Oak Park if we wanted something there, as opposed to expecting it to be in both places. Yes?
What about Sunnyside? That's not in our boundaries. Oh, that's not in your boundaries?
Yeah.
Hey, we have so many amenities that we can manage, and so there's a neighborhood association, I'm sure.
Yes, there is. Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Did they restart the splash water area in Sunnyside?
I don't know. Someone just mentioned it. Was it you, Elizabeth, that mentioned that the splash pad in Sunnyside Park had been turned off? I don't know.
It has been turned off for several years now.
Yeah, I don't know.
South Oak Park would be, I don't know what the population is in that area. I don't know how many kids are there, but I always see kids on the playground when I'm walking there.
Yep.
That space is great for a splash.
And our first PIAC request would be to do a study, which would invite the community to come in and talk about specifically what our ideas would be.
Yep.
And I can't remember why they shut down the one in Sunnyside. I kind of think it was more because of the homeless, but even at that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Homeless people need to take a shower too. So I agree with you. I think there's a lot of grass that they're mowing out there, and nobody.
It's actually inviting people to drive their ATVs all over it, so I think less grass all overall would be good. And I know that Parks overall is trying to replace grass with native grass, right?
Yeah, I've worked with the Parks Department on the master plan for Arbor Villa Park, which is much smaller, but that was several years ago. And one of the things that you'll get to learn in those public meetings is all of those nuances. It's really expensive for the Parks Department to maintain grass. It has to be mowed, it has to be cared for. It's easily torn up and then requires repairs. And so when you think about dollar for dollar how we spend parks money and what we get to use it for, activity-based facilities are oftentimes more cost-effective than grass. But you get that opportunity to ask those questions, and they'll provide information that you can consider. So some of the things that you just have never thought about will make sense. And, for example, they might suggest that we put a splash pad in one park versus another because there's already water service in one and may not be in the other. So that's the process. It's very interesting. I think we've covered it all. There'll be more information from the neighborhood. Yeah.
Where can we express support for that study?
here today, but also probably gonna, and I'm gonna kind of look at Aaron, maybe we'll be sending out an email that could have a place for folks to share their thoughts and support.
There's a public meeting on August 4th, actually.
Correct.
The public meeting for PIAC is August 4th, so we would actually, our board will be there to present our request, and anybody who wants to come to that and just be in support of the Waldo Towers request could be there to speak.
That's at the Plaza Library, right?
It will be at the Plaza Library, you're correct. I think it's at 6.
6.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we'll put that out also. We'll have a good follow-up email, sounds
Okay.
like, with a lot of information.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Tiffany. Cool. Yep.
South Kansas City Alliance contracts with the city to try to get these nuisance properties and cleaned up a little quicker than the city's been able to do it. And as you know, right now, for those violations like weeds, trash, litter, painting gutters, peeling paint, those are property maintenance and nuisance violations. And we have contracted with them for the 5th and 6th council districts. So when those are called into 911, 311, but 911 on my mind, they refer them to the South Kansas City Alliance, and we try to get prompt voluntary compliance. So we send a courtesy letter to the owners, and we give them 2 weeks. And if they haven't either corrected the problem or made noticeable progress, then we turn it back to the city, and they'll haul them into housing court where they face fines and sitting around for a while waiting for their case to come up. And we've had pretty good luck at getting a lot of those cleaned up. Now, these out-of-town landlords are a trip. So oftentimes they don't even know where you're talking about. But we are doing good. But when you see properties like that, make sure to call them into 311. And we have been having pretty good luck with local owners and getting them cleaned up. But if they don't, then it's on them. You know, they are taken into housing court. They can face some pretty serious fines.
Question at my favorite place, Waldo Towers, has been a vacant and open building for a couple, 3 years now, and I've called it into 311. I haven't checked lately to see how they're coming with that. What is the procedure when you have a building like that?
Which building is it?
It's a building that burnt down. A guy got mad at his girlfriend and burnt the building down about 4 years ago, and the first floor, which is made out of concrete, has been open since then. In fact, they found a dead body in a car a couple years ago.
Where is this at?
Waldo Towers.
Oh, the address.
Waldo Heights, I'm sorry.
Waldo Heights?
Waldo Heights, I'm sorry.
Oh my gosh. We have a lot of properties that we're tracking. Waldo Heights is definitely on that list.
I'm sure it is.
We've invited Neighborhood Direct coordinator Monica to come and talk to us, our board meeting, to see what our recourses are on the various properties, because there's so many. And they each have their own nuances, why they're like they're, why they are the way they are. The Brand Smart building is one. There's a couple of, trouble houses as well. So we've got that on our list.
You could board it up. A couple carpenters could board it up in a day.
Yeah.
They don't want to do it. They don't want to spend the money.
That's right.
And they get my tax money to support Section 8, so their criminal boyfriends can live there.
Yeah.
Open entry is a violation, and we have been able to get some of those boarded up.
Okay.
So that would be a 311 property.
Yeah, it's been a couple months. They took my request.
Well, Elizabeth, maybe we check the 311 on that property when we're doing our research and see what open tickets she has.
I'll also mention that there's an active lawsuit right now against Waldo Heights Apartments, led by KC Tenants and Heartland Center for Jobs, and because of the terrible conditions that tenants have had. So there are open cases, and my understanding is a little bit of work has been done, so that they maybe have boarded up the first floor. I agree it looks terrible on the second floor still of that particular building, but there's a lot of work that needs to happen on that property.
Oh, yeah. Well. All right. Yes.
Quick question. Has anyone had trouble with their city trash bins? Mine was stolen, and my neighbor across the street was
No, I know some neighbors who would like to have theirs stolen, but no. Maybe you can borrow theirs. Yeah, but they're tagged, so I mean, if they turn up, they should know it's yours.
Well, I called 311 and it was replaced within a week.
Well, that's weird.
My house is on the trail, so.
Yeah.
It's a popular means of transportation.
Right.
Oh, they could put all their stuff in it and roll it. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a bummer. So those are probably in the woods somewhere. Yeah, so that's just, yeah, you did the right thing, 311. I haven't heard that. I know that sometimes your trash won't get picked up if you have more than 2 bags in your bin, but yes, I know, but sometimes the street crew isn't always on the same page, if you know what I mean. Yes.
I tagged and I spent money and bought tags.
And they
had
still
one extra tag next to it and they would not pick it up and I had to call and
Yeah.
get them to come back.
I actually watched them walk right by mine. I had the top was open and I had the 2 bags in there, but I couldn't close the top because it was big bags. But they walked right by. They didn't even check it. And I had that on my ring, so I sent it into the city and they were like, "Oops, we'll be right out, ma'am, to pick that up." Yes. Yeah, they came the next day.
Yeah,
A guy in a pickup truck picked him up. Yeah. Yeah, you have 24 hours to report it, so.
Just a little, like, be nice to trash pickup people.
Yes.
When I put my trash in, I try to make sure that the strings are all
Yes.
facing up.
Yes.
Just to make sure.
Just
that
to make it
that
easy.
Easier or not.
And it was, I think it was easy, but they just saw the lid was open and just assumed, and that was the.
Isn't the ruling that the lid has to be closed or
Yeah, it was closed, but not all the way. All right, I am ready to draw the lucky person's name out who's going to take this book home. Before I do so, I want to remind everyone that in September we do have another meeting, and we are going to be. Do we have the election on this September? Okay, so we are currently putting together our new slate of officers. I think this is my last year, right? Okay. What? I know. I usually float around to a different seat once I'm done being president. So we are definitely looking for a new president. It's not a hard job, I promise. Not at all. But we also have other board member positions that are open, and we'd love to have new volunteers come and join us. We just appointed a new volunteer. Michelle is not here. Is she not here today? We had a new volunteer step into the archivist position, which is just kind of keeping track of all of our newsletters and stuff that we do. And so it's not really a hard position. But we also have membership committee that do fun events. When's our next event? August. We're doing a Happy Bottoms volunteer event to give back to Waldo, and that's in August. And then we're doing a tie-dye party at the park in September, and we're having a Halloween night of mystery in October. So we're doing fun stuff. Let us know if you're interested. Okay, I'm gonna draw the name. I'm not looking. I have no idea whose name this is. It's Pat King.
Oh, congratulations, Pat.
Yay! There you go. We're gonna try to do a drawing at all our meetings in the future because it's just so fun. All right, anybody else have anything you'd like to? Yes. So that's a good question. We don't really get a lot of say in what businesses open up. There's no ordinances that keep them from opening. The Waldo Business Association has a property committee, and that's where I would start to see if there's a way to incentivize those property owners to not invite those types of businesses into, because they're basically renting space.
So I represent Waldo Tower on the WABA property committee, and I'll bring that up at the next meeting that we have, which is next Thursday. And I'll ask to see what plan they have in place. Sometimes they don't even know a new business is coming in. the business will actually just open up, and they're
Yeah.
just as blindsided as we are as neighbors.
Yeah.
So I'll ask that question, and then maybe at the next meeting, we can share that information if it's a lot, but I'd like to get you an answer with that.
Yeah. We had the same issue with used car lots. And as a matter of fact, as the president of the Waldo Tower Neighborhood Association, I actually attended the committee that was getting ready to allow yet another used car lot. And we had done a study on how many there were in the neighborhood. There's like over 30 in our boundaries. And they completely ignored everything I said about it, because they once they're allowed to have a used car lot in that spot, that's what they get. You can have as many there as you want.
So what's the next step to address that? Is that the city councilman?
It would be city council. Yeah.
There is actually some improvement in city ordinances on fencing there.
Mhm.
But as Angie said, it's difficult to remove a special use permit. Used car lots require a special use permit, which used to be perpetual, and now they have to be renewed. So there is some movement. The same is true of convenience stores. Now there is a minimum distance, so they can't be too close together. We're not going to have them on all four corners of the intersection any longer. So those
should do the same.
Those are good points. There's opportunity to weigh in on some of those amendments when they come up, but there is some forward movement on those types of businesses.
Do we know what type of license they're filing those businesses under, the massage parlors?
I don't. I'd love to just ask you a few questions about where your concern comes from so I can better direct you.
Yeah, it really does depend on where it's at. And
Well, I've attended the Waldo security meeting. We have a police officer. He says the vice quality is very involved in almost all of them. He doesn't know what vice does, but
yeah, they
does
keep
say
that hush hush
that
when they're.
those are prime centers for drugs and prostitution and
Trafficking.
trafficking. Thank you.
Definitely.
And none of those things are good, at least for my neighborhood.
No. Oh, well, we had a successful drawing.
Any other questions? Angie, did you?
I think we're good.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, I'm calling the meeting adjourned. Sorry, guys.